Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the first edition of Black Authors Matter TV for Black History Month. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, along with my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Good evening, everyone.
And not only are we celebrating Black History Month, we are celebrating our 200th show for Black Authors Matter TV. Tonight is our 200th show. And it's so amazing.
It goes so fast.
It goes by so fast. So we appreciate those of you who have been with us since the beginning. We picked up a lot of people along the way. And the show's audience just continues to grow and grow and grow. A couple of housekeeping notes. One, we have a new t-shirt. You know, we have our literary themed t-shirts, and we have a new one. And I don't know if you all can see it. Let's see. This one is celebrating poets. So it says, our poets, our voices. And it has, and we did this now because Nikki Giovanni recently passed away. And so we wanted to do something with her on it. So it has 8 female poets on it. And the one at the bottom is Amanda Gorman, who is the youngest one of the group. And she did poetry at President Biden's inauguration. So all our t-shirts are available on cushcity.com, our website, and is already selling well out of the gate. So one more housekeeping note before we bring on our first guest. The National Black Book Festival registration is open for you all who plan to come as authors with the table or publishers. Right now we're at 38%. So as far as vendor tables, we expect to sell out by the end of April. So at the pace that we are now, where we are now is where we were last year in the middle of March in terms of registrations. That's how much faster the registrations are coming in. So if you all plan to attend, don't procrastinate. So our first guest, and this is a good topic to start off with because he's talking about generational wealth creation and having a strategy for your family to create the wealth. So his name is James Marshall, and he has a book called The Hive and the like a beehive. And I'm going to ask him about that, if that's what he was comparing it to, sort of analogous to multi-generational wealth building strategy. So James, if you can unmute, and welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me. How's everyone doing?
Doing
Wonderful.
great.
Thank you for being here.
And welcome to our 200th show. You are one of our guests for the 200th show that we've had. And it's an exciting milestone for us to reach. And we've had the show with both of us as co-hosts from day one.
Wow.
So,
200 shows. That is a milestone.
200 shows.
It really is. And some great guests we've had over the years.
We have, and more to come. So
and present company included.
Yes.
Glad to be in that number. Glad to be a part of history.
That's true. So do you have a copy of your book handy?
I do.
People can see the cover. And so when they go online to order it, they'll know what.
And there's also an accompanying workbook to it as well.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. A step-by-step guide. So, and you have you do this for a living, the wealth management.
That's correct.
You have your own business that does wealth management.
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
Wow, 38 years.
Wow. So you've learned a lot along the way.
A lot. A lot of what to do and what not to do.
And you've seen a lot along the way.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The good, bad, and the ugly.
Oh,
So how
well,
did
I
you
have to
get
ask you about
into
that.
how did you get into this wealth building space, wealth management space?
Okay, well, when I got out of the military, I went to work. I went to finish my degree at Western Kentucky University in architecture and started working for a company called Teller Homes, redesigning homes into solar homes.
Hmm.
Then I went to work for the Highway Department as a district affirmative action officer. And at that time, I met the president of the Urban League in Louisville, Kentucky, who told me that Merrill Lynch was looking for Black stockbrokers. He wanted me to go and interview. So I did. That was back in 1988. They hired me, and I never looked back. So I went from Merrill Lynch to New York Life in Washington, D.C., then back to Louisville with American Express Financial Advisors for 10 years before starting my own firm, Marshall Wealth Management.
Where were you when you worked with American Express? Where were
Mhm.
you located?
In Louisville.
Um, Louisville. Okay, my
Mhm.
sister worked for American Express for a number of years out
Okay.
of Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes.
I used to
Good.
live near Louisville. I was stationed at Fort Knox, Kentucky. That was my first duty station when I was in the Army.
Oh, military person. All right. I did my OCS at Fort Knox.
Okay.
Okay, so that's an
Officer candidate
acronym.
school.
Okay,
Officer
yeah, I
candidate
said
school.
that's an
Yeah, Gwen was
acronym.
like, I don't know what that is.
For those of us who are not military, I have heard of that, but I didn't know the acronym for it. So you started with Merrill Lynch. Now, is Merrill Lynch still around?
Oh, yeah. They're owned
Yeah.
by Bank of America now.
Okay, because I couldn't remember if they kind of got caught up in that stuff that happened in 2008.
And they did.
When the market tanked and all of that, and some of the financial companies were caught in there, caught up in it. So, what are some of the things that you've seen over the years in terms of people's money habits, um, how the market affects the ability to save and build wealth? And well, those two first.
Okay. Well, 99.9% of my clients are African Americans. I primarily market our community. I manage money for individuals, businesses, churches, but mostly just regular folk who have worked for a job for 30 years and want to retire. And what I've seen mostly over the times is people tend to always get out of the market at the wrong time and get in the market at the wrong time. They
Mm.
tend to react to hype. They believe someone when they tell them, yeah, this is a great investment, you should get in, you're going to double your money in 30 days. And they believe all that. And they're always chasing a return. And the people who really do well, those who are disciplined and are consistent, and they know that time is a very important part of the wealth building process.
Okay, that's true.
And
I when stuff is hyped, I stay away because normally that means exactly what you said. It's all hype, and then it's gonna go up quick, but it's gonna tank
well,
even quicker
I wouldn't
and probably lower.
necessarily I wouldn't necessarily say stay away. I would say to do your own research.
Right.
An example of that is GameStop and AMC. Like just like during COVID, both of those stocks tanked. But
Mm,
then toward the latter part, all of a sudden they went up, and everybody thought it was going to keep going up. So everybody was buying in it. But if you had done the research, those two particular stocks, they were talking about them on Reddit, and they were trying to get everybody to buy into the stock to prove a point. So
I remember that.
once the hype about those two kind of petered out, all of a sudden the stocks weren't as high anymore. So sometimes you kind of have to do your own research. Some people are going to drive up certain stocks just for the sake of doing it, and they get everybody all excited about it. And then when it tanks again and you've lost your money, now you're mad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
well,
that and
they
that's
know
called
those
the
people hyping, and normally they know when to take their money out.
Well,
And
not
see,
necessarily.
I'm more
That's
conservative.
called the gamification of the market, especially
Right, right.
of Robinhood and Reddit were big pushers of that. So you have to just be careful. Make sure you know what you're trying to accomplish, and stick with something that you know. If you don't know how a company makes money, you shouldn't be investing in it. But yes, that is a very good point that you bring up. You need to research it yourself and know why it's going up.
Yeah. When I
Sometimes it goes higher.
Yep.
Yeah, it sometimes you just I I'm more conservative with my investments. I've tried to stick with the tried and true if they and something that I'm using. So when I created a little portfolio that I have, it's not big, but I looked at things that I use myself that I feel that were solid. So for example, I invested in Apple. Apple is expensive, but you can own part of a share. You can buy in where you don't have to get a whole share. But Apple and Meta, I invested in both of those because I use them. And then PayPal, which I also use. Then I said, you know what? I know people leisure stocks. People will always want to go on vacation, even when the market is bad. So I invested in Royal Caribbean, and then because I go on Royal Caribbean myself, and then I said, okay, I need a food stock because people will always need food. so, so
That's
I
true.
kind of
That's
did it
true.
like that. I did General Mills because they've been around forever and they pay a
Mm-hmm.
dividend, and
Mm-hmm.
people always will buy food. So
Well, you have a
I,
strategy, and that makes you a
yeah,
wise investor. You have a reason for what you're doing.
yeah, and it's going up. I've increased my and I do a quarterly investment. So every quarter I put more money in. I haven't taken any money out, but I'm just
So
trying to build.
you mentioned doing your research. What are some things that people should look for when they decide that they? I know Gwen talked about what she looks for, which isn't exactly the strategy that I use, but I'm wondering, um, is it somewhere in the middle? What should people look for?
Well, you want to begin with the end in mind. In the book that I wrote, The Hive, we're talking about the concept of multi-generational wealth. So you wouldn't be investing necessarily for yourself. You might be investing for 4 or 5 generations from now. So you might be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more aggressive than you ordinarily would be. Because maybe you have 5 years till retirement, so you're going to move more towards bonds, but you really realize that you're not going to use most of that money. A lot of that money is going to be put into the family trust as a part of your hive. Then it might be invested more long term. So you want to begin with the end in mind. When do you need the money? How much return do you need to accomplish your goals, realize to accomplish your goal? What has been the history of that particular stock? And if you don't understand the stocks, then you might buy an ETF instead, exchange traded fund, which is a basket of stocks. It's really the way to go right now because there's a lot of volatility in the market. But the main thing is to begin with the end in mind. Do a financial plan, a comprehensive financial plan that looks at your cash reserves, your cash flow, your protection planning, your tax strategies, retirement planning, and your estate planning. And then based on that plan, that's how you want to invest to reach those particular goals.
Okay.
Okay,
And what
makes
advice
sense.
would you give to the person who hasn't really gotten started? They want to know, how do I start?
You first want to take an assessment of your situation. Basically, you have to stand in the mirror with no clothes on, with the good, bad, and the ugly. How much money do you have? Are you spending more than you're making? What's coming in? What's going out? You should have discretionary income, money left over at the end of the month. Then you should have cash reserves, 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months cash reserves. Now, if you have a job that's easy to replicate, if you get fired, you can find another. You only need 3 to 6 months of living expenses. But if you have one's gonna be hard to replace it, then you want to go with 6 to 12 months. And that's not 6 to 12 months income, that's 6 to 12 months living expenses. So it's costing you $5,000 a month to live. When you're looking at 12 months, that's $60,000 in cash reserves. This is what you need before you invest. You don't invest your cash reserves, it's there for emergencies and opportunities. And once you have that cash reserves, then you start investing and start with something that you know. Just like you said before, buy how you live. If you're driving a certain car all the time, why not buy stock in that car? If you go to a certain grocery store often, why not buy stock in that grocery store? So know what you're investing in, how it makes money, and what are the pros and the cons of that particular stock. Because they don't all go up. You want to know the PE ratio, price earnings ratio. You want to
Mhm.
know what is the anticipated return of that stock over the next 12 months. You want to know what analysts are tracking that particular stock. So those things are the things you want to look at to decide how you want to invest. But if you don't want to do that research, don't worry about it. Go into an ETF or in a mutual fund that invests in that particular industry.
Okay, I was going to ask you if the ETFs have replaced the mutual funds, but the mutual funds are still
They're
in the
still there.
market.
They're
Okay,
still there.
okay. So what's the
Now,
difference between a mutual fund and an ETF?
Well, a mutual fund is professionally managed by a person. They might go in and out of a particular position. They might be in a particular stock in healthcare, and they may move into pharmaceuticals. By law, they can't put more than 5% of any one stock. Now, an ETF is not trying to balance out a portfolio with one stock or another. They're buying the whole index. So if it like the triple Q is a technology ETF, they're going to buy all the technology stocks in that index. Whereas Fidelity Technology Fund might buy 5 technology stocks in their mutual fund. So it's managed differently, and the fees are higher. It costs you more to be in a mutual fund. On average, a mutual fund might cost you anywhere from 2 to 3% a year to be in it, whereas a ETF is going to cost you 1% or less.
now
Okay.
we're talking a lot about stocks, but and ETFs, but there's been a lot of attention paid to getting a trust. You know, and I think which is pretty much of a new concept for a lot of people. What is your advice when it comes to building a trust for your family?
Yeah, and that's what the hive is really all about. Is driven by trust, and that trust is funded with life insurance primarily. So you have different types of trust. You have a revocable trust, a irrevocable trust. The hive that we really highlight, the trust that we highlight in the book, The Hive, is called a dynasty trust. And these trusts are set up just for the purpose of multi-generational wealth. Now, you can control your money from the grave in a trust that's well written and well prepared because the language in the trust might say that no more than 2% of the interest can come out of the trust at any given time. It may say that when the uh, beneficiaries of the trust reach a certain age, they might can pull out $20,000 for a down payment on their home. Different things you can say in the trust to make sure that the trust is never fully liquidated because you want to make sure that it's perpetual. When you're
Yes.
building family wealth, it must be perpetual, lasting forever.
Yeah, we hear a lot about people that leave a trust, really extremely wealthy people that leave a trust that their children can't touch until a certain age because they want to make sure that they're financially responsible.
Mhm.
So they don't blow all the money, like turn 18 and just blow it. And then when they turn
Correct.
25, they don't have anything left.
But
Right.
the thing is, you don't have to be wealthy
That's
in
right.
No,
order
you don't.
to.
You don't.
No, no, and I'm not saying that to debate you, but I would just want to make sure that people know that it's a misconception that you have to be wealthy in order to establish a trust. And you
Absolutely.
don't have to be wealthy. You can build let's say $1 million trust, and then the way you structure it, you don't have to have $1 million in your pocket at the time.
Absolutely. And that's what we talk about in the book, The Hive. We talk about a family that every time someone died in the family, the Hive had a life insurance policy, and the family cooperative trust had a life insurance policy on the family members. It owned the policy. It was the beneficiary of the policies. And that's
Hmm.
how the trust was funded. When someone dies, that death benefit goes tax free to the trust. Now, the
Oh,
trustees control the trust. Now, it's not just life insurance in the trust. It would also be cash. It can be stocks. It could be bonds. It could be real estate. It could be businesses. All types of things can be held in the trust. The trust is a legal entity. They can do
mhm.
everything but vote. So, the idea of having multiple people who are brought into this concept of building an endowment fund, if you will, that might mature in 20 or 30 years or never mature, is the effective way of building wealth over generations. And it doesn't have to just be your family, it could be friends or it could be church members to really build an effective hive that is funded by a cooperative trust.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of, well, you said most of your clients are African American, and this is information that really most of us weren't privy to up until recent years, recent decades. A lot of the information like this we weren't privy to. But are most of your clients a variety of professions, like some military, some teachers, some entrepreneurs?
Oh, absolutely. Most of my clients are, well, most of the men are business owners. A lot of
Okay.
clients that own car dealerships, a lot of clients in the medical field, doctors, a lot of nurses as clients, engineers, people who have just worked for a company for 30 years. But I would say majority of them are in the healthcare field or in the education arena. And they've just built up money in their TSA or in the 403B, the 401k, or the business owners, they put the revenues from the business into an account outside of the business so that they can have wealth beyond their business. A lot of small business people put all of their hopes and dreams on their business and being able to sell it at some point and parachute out with this wonderful pot of money. But it usually doesn't work that way. Oftentimes, you can't get the price you want when it's time for you to retire. So it's best to have something on the outside, like a executive bonus plan, or making sure you're fully funding a SEP IRA or uh, private purchase plan, these private pension plan, these type of things make sure that if your business does not sell, you can still enjoy a comfortable retirement. But yeah, most of them are professionals.
And that makes sense. And that I think it's important that, if you do have some type of business or something that you do establish a trust, or else what happens if something, God forbid, something happens tomorrow and you're not positioned to take care of your family?
Maybe a trust is not what you want in regards to estate planning. And all this falls under estate planning, which is the sixth component of financial planning. And the six components of financial planning: cash reserves, cash flow management, uh, protection planning, tax planning, investment planning, retirement planning, and estate planning. Estate planning is going to start with the basic five things: your simple will, who gets your stuff; your living will, do not resuscitate; your durable power of attorney; your medical power of attorney; and your HIPAA release form. These are the basic things you need to make sure that your stuff goes where you want it to go. And if you want to get more advanced in your thinking, then you think in terms of a trust. But first, you have to do a comprehensive financial plan, because that is your roadmap to getting where you want to go. You can't just jump in your, or you could just jump in your car and start driving to Albuquerque, New Mexico, that you've never been there before. And you might get lost, use up a lot of gas, fall out with the person you're riding with. It can be a very unpleasant trip. Or you can map it out and have a pleasant trip along the way.
No, that's a good way to talk about it. And we did a road trip to Albuquerque. Well, we went to California, but we stopped in Albuquerque. This is 2021 when we did the road trip from Houston to California and back. It was a very nice trip. A lot of people who have businesses, business owners, entrepreneurs, most of the businesses don't exchange hands to the next generation. A lot of times a business is the business person's vision, and it's not necessarily their children's vision. They want to do something different. So it is important to have some plans, and your plan shouldn't be your children are going to take over, because that may or may not happen. And a lot of times children just, I know our dad had a business and he wanted one of us to do it. It was a funeral business and none of us were interested in it at all. So it
And that's
died.
unfortunate, because that is a very
It was
good
lucrative
business
because
to be
he
in.
said you never run out of customers.
That's right. But the thing about a lot of these small family-owned funeral homes have gone to the wayside because large corporations have come in and purchased all of them up. So it's very
Yeah,
hard to find one now.
yeah,
But
they have. And so people who are in business should consider how they're going. Now, how do most business people that I guess the businesses are so many different sizes, but do the business owners, you know, do they really have their retirement plans? A lot of them do. Or
Well,
does it vary?
most business owners do not have their retirement plan because they think that they are just going to cash out their business. I would say majority of them think along those lines. But
Okay.
when they come to a financial advisor like me, we start talking about things like buy-sell agreements. You know, you have a partner, you have two partners. You don't want to be in business with your partner's spouse. So we want to write out a buy-sell agreement and fund it with a term life policy so that if one of you dies, the money will be available from the insurance company to buy out the position of the partner's spouse, the dying partner's spouse. And that gives you a built in financing mechanism. That's a very effective way of having a contingency plan. Then a lot of them just hope that they're going to pass it on to the family or sell it to their employees and then still receive an income. Because the big issue, the more success you are in building your business, you have a tax problem at some point. So now, if you do sell that business, you've got this huge capital gains tax if you're lucky enough to sell it for several $1 million that you have to address. So
Right.
putting that in place is very tricky. It takes a lot of thought and a lot of planning.
Now, talk a little bit in the time we have left about your workbook that you have with the book, because you showed us the workbook. And
Yes,
so,
right. Well, first of all, the Hive is available any place that you get books on Amazon, Apple Books, and the book is written because I've been in this business for a long time, and I found that in our community, we kept starting over again every generation. Every generation, we're starting over, starting over, starting over. We would get life insurance, but we would drop the policies, or we would get some assets, but we didn't protect the assets, or we would leave a home to our children, but we wouldn't leave money for the child to pay the property tax, and they would lose the property. Or they didn't have money to maintain the property, and they would lose the property. Or there would be bickering and infighting in the family, and then things had to get sold just to pay off people. So it was
mm,
disarray. So the Hive is a book that talks about the ideal of bringing families together, family members together towards one common cause to address this problem I kept seeing time and time again in our community. So when you have a book like The Hive, it gets kind of complicated. So you want to write a workbook that gives them a step-by-step guide what they need to do to establish their own hive. How do you start off? How do you assess your financial situation? How do you choose the family members who are going to be in the hive? How do you choose the structure, the governance you're going to use? Who's going to be on the executive committee? Who's going to be the finance person? How often will you meet? What type of trust are you going to set up? What are you going to use a trust company? Are you going to just have the trust, have the accumulation account at a regular bank and have the trustees handle it? Everything that you can think of is in the workbook to jog your memory on what you need to do. However, to really be effective, you need to retain professionals, that be an attorney, CPA, and of course, a financial advisor to make sure that you're doing things the right way, the prudent way to make sure you're building wealth. And we hope, of course, they will use us. But even if they don't, we're going to hand them a prescription and then they can take that prescription and have it filled anywhere they want to.
Do you think that some people may not do all this because it just seems so complicated? It just seems like this is over my head and I can't think. I don't know what to do. This is too hard. I'm just not going to worry about it.
Absolutely.
Have you seen
Absolutely.
that type of?
Absolutely. And people are procrastinators. People just put it
Mhm.
off. They put it off. They put their head in the sand. And then you
Right.
look up one day and, oh my God, I really want to do this. It's like you say, wow, I wish we had known this before. And we're just getting, no, this stuff has been around for a long time. People have been doing workshops all the time in churches, but people don't come to those workshops in large numbers. You might have 10, 15 people in a financial planning workshop in any church in America, Black church in America. So we sometimes don't want to know because if we know better, we have
have to
to
do better.
do
Do better.
better. So sometimes we just don't want to know. We're afraid of change oftentimes as well. But I see it changing. I see it changing. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I am a member of the $1 Million Roundtable, which puts me in the top 3% of all financial advisors in the world. Further than that, I'm a quarter of the table, which is top 2%. So you can't reach that level without dealing with a lot of people with money, and all my clients are Black. So we are improving, but we just have to turn it up a little bit because the Hive is not a new concept. The Asian community has been doing this for years. A Jewish community has been doing it for years. So we need to start doing it. We used to do it when we had to do it. Back before we were accepted into white society, we had our own banks. We had family trusts. They were not very formal, but there was an understanding that you would do this and this and this. But once the talented tip, the so-called talented tip, moved out of the community, out into the suburbs, like we all have, you get these good corporate jobs, you became disjointed. And so that kind of dissolved the family unity. So I'm starting to see that coming back. You're seeing more family reunions. You're seeing more people taking the role of the matriarch or the patriarch, or even assisting to the matriarch and the patriarch to make sure the family stays in place. It's always just one person in the family that keeps the thing together. It's not usually 5 or 6. It's maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, that is true.
Man,
Well, we're
we
at
could
the end
talk
of
for
our
another whole half
time.
hour on
Good.
it.
It's been educational. So show your book cover once
Sure.
more for people who want to
It is
learn more about
the
the
Hive
Hive.
multi-family generational wealth building strategy, and then the accompanying workbook, the step-by-step plan.
Okay, well, we
You can
did
get
put
this on
your
an audio book and an ebook.
oh,
Oh,
wonderful.
okay,
Well,
great.
we did put your link in the chat, so I hope that our viewers and listeners will click on the link and purchase both the book and the workbook so they can start planning for their own estates.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I had a great time. Hopefully, we said something that somebody can use, right?
Oh, it's very
Absolutely.
educational and um hopeful for gave us more insight into hope for the future.
Amen.
Okay, have a great evening.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Take care.
Good night. Okay, before we bring on our next guest, we are going to give a book away, but because we're a couple of minutes into the next time segment, we're going to do it at the end of this segment. So stay tuned for those who like to win the books on the show. So our next guest is France Neptune. She's a motivational author, and I think her work primarily focuses on women, but the strategies can be used by anyone. And we welcome France to Black Authors Matter TV. And my first question out the gate is France Neptune your name, or is it a pen name? That's
I love it. I love it. It is my real name, and guess what? I get asked that question often.
I bet.
It's such a cool name, though. It's a really cool name.
It is cool.
Let me tell you, growing up, I was teased something terrible, okay, in childhood. So during my childhood years.
Yes, I guess they said, are you going to France or the planet Neptune? Is your family named Neptune? That's the last name?
Yeah, so my last name is Neptune. My father's first name was Franz, Frantz. So they named me France.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I have never met someone with the last name Neptune. So that's why I thought it was, and it sounds like a pen name.
I've heard that before.
But it's a great name for a book because it's memorable.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've learned to embrace my name. It took me until probably high school, but hey, I got there.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a minute. I have one of those first names, but I don't use my whole name anyway because it's my first name is Guinevere. But it's hard for people to say. And plus, even my parents never called me Guinevere. They named me Guinevere, but even when I was in trouble, it was Gwen. So they never used it. Only my teachers, or if it's like the government, if somebody calls and asks for Guinevere, I know it's not somebody I know.
Right.
So anyway, I just thought that was amazing. Your name is just really, really eye-catching and memorable. So you write motivational books, and one of yours is Girl Be You, and it's 7 strategies to activate your authenticity. So you have a copy of your books with you? I know
Yes,
you had 2. Because, okay, now I like the cut. Now, is that you on the cover?
yes.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And it was hard to put myself on there, but hey, that was part of embracing,
It's a pretty dress.
and I didn't want people thinking I was trying to sometimes when it comes to putting ourselves in front of the camera, I don't know if you guys are women, so we could talk. There might be watching, but sometimes we struggle in those areas, right? We might feel certain insecurities. So this was a major step for me to put myself on the cover.
Well, it was a nice pose, and I found a lot of motivational authors put themselves on their covers.
Oh yes, okay, yep.
Yes, I don't write motivational books, but well, I guess my books could be motivating, but they're not in that genre.
Gotcha.
So, but that's a great pose, and you look carefree, like you don't have any worries.
and very classy, very classy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
So why did you come up with 7 strategies as opposed to 10 or some other number?
Well, originally it was a workshop on self-esteem that I held through Edify Your Sister. And that's the movement that, I started years back. But anyway, after that workshop, I just felt led to write the information down and share it out with the world, because truly I wasn't the only one who was dealing with insecurities and lack of discovering our purpose, our worth, and all that. So how I came up with 7 is that's just exactly the number of items that this is the process that God took me through to get to where I am today, where I could be my authentic self. So it just happened to be 7.
Okay. Well,
7
is the number of
completion.
Yeah. Exactly. That. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Complete each other's sentences sometimes. Yeah, it is. And I haven't used 7 on a book cover. I mean, like as a subtext. I've used 12. I've used 10. I've used 21.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't used 7 yet. So why did you pick authenticity as the thing that people should pursue or strive for?
Because going back to, again, when I was preparing for the workshop, doing research and just reading up on different things, at the end of the day, that's where your self-esteem comes from, is being true to your identity and true to who you are. So that's how I came up with that. It's just through much prayer, research, like I said, spending time with the Lord, and he showed me a lot of stuff. And that word authenticity, I mean, it's popular now, but back then when I wrote the book, it wasn't really a buzzword, but I'm hearing it a lot more. I would say within the past, the last, 3 years or so, maybe, I've been hearing that word a lot. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of people try to be like other people, or they try to, and emulate is different from imitate.
Come on. See, you're already preaching tonight here.
But it's so true. Just because you're emulating somebody doesn't mean you have to be exactly like that person.
Right.
I think that's why people are starting to have a problem with people who say, you're the new so-and-so, or you're the so-and-so of your industry, instead of just saying that you can be yourself. Yeah,
right.
just be you.
That's right. That's exactly it. I remember one day I was sharing, I think I was on a live, and a young lady was like, France, you inspire me. I want to be you. And I'm like, no, don't let me inspire you to want to be me. I want to inspire you to be you. And I think we see so much in these streets where people are, everyone has a platform now, right? All you need is a live button and a phone, and you can record yourself. You have a platform. And sometimes if we're not careful, those people, they want you to be them. Like they put themselves on that platform and it's like, look at me, be me, do this like me. And that's definitely not what authenticity is about. So yeah.
Yeah, sometimes less is more.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I find people now, the whole thing is record myself doing everything. You know, when I go to bed, when I go out the front door, you know, when I'm shopping, when I'm at the grocery store, when I'm just going around the corner, when I go, you know, just record everything. And, you know, at some point, I, it's not something that people can really look forward to.
Right.
If you're recording every single, like everything you're doing, it just gets, I think people they're looking for an accumulation of likes, views. A lot of it's driven by that.
Yep. That is true. But yeah, I mean, you know, stay true to who you are. I think again with women, sometimes we struggle with you know, accepting who we really are and giving ourselves the permission to be who God created us to be. And our self is already within us. And that's why in the title it says to activate it. It's in you. You just have to activate it and bring it out. So that's just a little bit more around the title and subtitle.
Yeah. And then a lot of times we look at people and we think they have it all together, or, you know, they're the pinnacle of their success.
People just don't know.
No, on the inside, they could be just in pain, you know, just from not being loved, or everybody's trying to use them for something.
Yes.
You know, that's one of the challenges with fame. Everybody that you encounter is a user for the most part. It's hard to make new friends once you have a breakthrough like that, because everybody wants something.
Yep.
So now, what are one of your strategies in the book that you?
Sure. Go to the first one, which is embracing your uniqueness. Now, I struggled with this.
Okay.
I already shared with you about my first and last. Well, you already know my first and last name, but I think when we think about like what makes you unique, we always go to like the physical features or something like that. But your uniqueness is anything that makes you you. It could be your personality, your tone of voice. That's another thing I had to, and I'll be transparent and share. I did not like my voice growing up. So I didn't like public speaking. I didn't like getting in front of the classroom because I
didn't like mine either. I understand.
There you go. So now you embrace your voice, right? You love it.
Yes.
Amen.
I mean, shoot. I mean, I'm doing podcasts now.
I love it. But yeah, so the first strategy is embracing your uniqueness, because uniqueness equates to, again, being authentic. So that's one of the strategies.
Okay. Yeah, you know, that's one of the books that I have that I wrote with my daughter is, this one has 12 on it. It's You Are Wonderfully Made, 12 life-changing life-changing principles for teen girls to embrace. And the first one is embracing your uniqueness.
There you
because
go.
when you're a teenage girl, you know, the pressure is to fit in, to be, you know, to be like everybody, the it group, or whatever the name is now, the popular group, you know, the popular girls or whatever. And so part of being comfortable as a teen girl is to embrace your uniqueness, that you're not like everybody else, and you shouldn't necessarily want to be like everybody else.
Right.
Amen. I mean, I struggled with walking in the shadows of other women, comparing myself to other women and young girls. You know, I wouldn't say jealous so much as I was envious. And I always felt like I had to, you know, seek out some type of validation. Now, of course, this was decades ago, right? But sometimes there's women in their adulthood who are still, unfortunately, struggling with these things.
And that's what I was actually going to say. I think it's so easy to say that once we've kind of self-actualized, and we realize that we can embrace ourselves. But when we're going through it, or when we are kids, because I'll tell you, I struggled as a young person, not thinking that I was pretty enough, not thinking that I was cool enough,
Yeah.
and trying to fit in. And I probably messed myself up in some instances because I was trying to be like everybody else. It took me becoming an adult, and actually an older adult, before I was really able to embrace myself the way I should. And so then when we tell somebody who's going through it, well, you can be yourself. You don't have to be like everybody else. It's hard for them to hear that.
Yes.
It's hard for them to embrace that.
Yeah.
So what can you do to somebody who's still in the thick of it
Mm-hmm.
and has not learned to love themselves just yet?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, there's I have some reflection questions on here, but I basically this is a guided by God. So I have scripture in here, to support the fact that before, you were formed in the womb, God knew us, So I have some scriptures in there to support them. I have some reflection questions in here to help them walk through the walk through the chapter, because it is hard. Like you said, it is hard to embrace, your uniqueness. But until you get that confidence, because that's really what it is for my process. It was really believing that God said I am who he said I am, and believing that he created me on purpose for his purpose. And until you can accept that, I think the challenge and the struggle will still be there for you to embrace, all the
Right,
areas of what makes you you.
right.
Yeah. Now for me, I always was very confident in my intellect.
Oh.
Even at 3 and 4 years old, I was a smart kid and still smart. But when I was growing up, I'm also a little person. So, when you go, especially when you go to middle school and high school, I was one of the last ones to wear wear a bra. Let me say that. I was always like behind everybody. The girls were always ahead of me
Mm-hmm.
in those terms. And it took me, but my intellect, I always had confidence in that. So that kind of carried me through. But it took me till adulthood. Then your body starts to fill in some, and then as you get older, the people who were thick when we were growing up, now they're fat. And so I had the last laugh because I was little for a long time. And I remember wanting to gain weight so bad. There used to be these ads in Ebony and Jet for this stuff called Wait On or something. I never ordered it, but I thought about it. So I because I didn't weigh I weighed like 90 pounds in high school, like when I graduated high school. So, but like I say, I learned to, once I got older, I started to fill in more. And so then when you get older, then you're trying to hold it back. You're trying to keep your weight from going up. But I always had confidence in my intellect. And I've always been kind of
I've
bold.
always had confidence in my intellect, but
Yeah.
you're like, but then there's the other thing. When people think that you're treating them like you're smarter than them, they
Mm.
start they start to have backlash against that. Oh, she thinks she's smarter than me. Oh, she made me feel stupid. Or she thinks she's all that. And
Oh,
then you're like, no, I don't want you to think that about me. So then we start to try to hide ourselves.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's true, Rhonda. And when you're dating,
Mm-hmm.
you run in, some men are threatened by women who are smart, and you have to kind of tiptoe on their egos.
Oof.
you know, that is a balancing act in itself.
Oh, yeah.
So, but when you meet someone who's comfortable with all of you, that is really your soulmate, or
Yeah.
with the person that you can be with, grow old with, or just enjoy, have a good companion, and be able to talk. And the person is not like, why are you using those big words? I used to, sometimes when somebody says that to me, a man, I'm not talking about, and women don't normally say that. It's a man that would say that, I'm not, and I'm just talking, I'm just using my
Hey,
normal.
that's your experience.
I'm not trying to use any
Hey.
big words. It might be a 6-letter word. Uh,
It's a fancy word, Gwen. You can't use fancy words.
So it's, you have to just, like you said, you have to be yourself. And I always try to be respectful of other people, but I have to be who I am.
Yes.
And I try to be honest with people. Now, sometimes people don't want to hear honesty, but I feel like if I've used honesty, then I've done what I'm supposed to do. Sometimes you have to deliver it gently,
Right, of course.
with the right attitude and the right tone.
Of course.
All of that, comes into play. but as I don't know what men go through in terms of their thoughts and how they think. They're on a different path.
Yeah. I mean, it takes too much to be fake.
It does, and I'm
Yeah,
not
it
gonna
does.
be fake. I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. And so it's too much work and energy. And why should I do that? Now, I try to respect all people. And that's where I start, is with respecting people. But I don't accept anybody disrespecting me.
Amen.
That's period.
Amen to that.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, if we really think about it, can you imagine what this world would look like if everyone walked in their authenticity? I mean, think about it. God created each of us to be who we are. And I think this world would look so different if we were all bold enough and courageous enough to just be who He created us to be.
Yeah, and we all have natural talents.
Yes.
And then normally they manifest early on.
Yep. And hopefully parents will notice that in their children.
Develop them and support them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So who would you say is your primary audience for your book?
See, here's the thing. My process started as a young lady, right? So that's why I say the teen girls up into women, because part of my self-discovery was in my adulthood as well. So, I mean, I've had women who, after they read the book, they were like, I'm going to sit down with my daughter. And like her daughter was 16 years old, because there are some stories in here of like, abuse and stuff. So that's why I don't really say, 13 or 12, but depending on what this young lady has already gone through at an early age, she might be ready for the information, right? So I normally start 18 and up, right? And then if someone wants to, again, share it with someone younger, I just say, just be cautious, because, there's some stories in there that might be triggered, or maybe you don't want your child exposed to that yet. But in this day and age, all the kids
I was just going to say that.
need stuff that's worth the in this book.
Yeah.
Not anything graphic,
all kinds of stuff.
but it's just stories of overcoming and testimonies.
Yeah, they're being exposed to so much now that we really never even knew about till we were adults. That there needs to be some balance of something else to sort of counter, as a counterweight. Somebody said the social book club, and I don't know, they watch it, but I don't know what the name of the person is behind it. But she said she has a bad habit of cussing in or by a church. And her friends are reprimanding her all the time. And she used to feel bad and apologize. Now she tells them, leave me alone. God made me.
All right. Look, all right, social book club, stop all that doggone cussing.
Listen, I was a cusser at one point, right? Growing up, I get it. until I started, again, getting my word. And I read, like, how can blessings and curses come out of the same mouth? So, so for me, that's what did it for me. That's what made me feel, I guess you can say, conviction. So I try not to. Now, I'm not saying one never ever flies out depending on the situation. Like if I'm driving and somebody's about to hit me or something,
If you hear me cuss, I'm mad.
That's true. Me too. I've never heard Rhonda cuss. And
Or you saw it on my Facebook page yesterday, though.
No, I didn't see your Facebook
Oh,
yesterday.
you have to see my last post. Some
okay.
scammer tried to tell me about getting a business loan through Cash App.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, see, those are scams. And now those will make you cuss.
Yeah.
People are always doing some DMs, trying to say that my Facebook page has violated some rules, and that's all scammers. And because Meta, if they take my money every day for ads,
wow.
and so they don't contact you by direct message. Like that. They send you an email. I don't even know. I've never been contacted by them for a violation of anything, but I get it from the DM people. And another thing that people will do, and this has been universally men that will do on our page. They make me want to cuss, but I just block them. We'll post something like right now we're doing the flyer for Black History Month with authors on it. And I think, France, I think you're on one of them. Anyway, in the comments,
like, oh, I am.
A woman will comment, and then a man will reply to the comment, I like your smile and all of one of those things, trying to talk to him. I delete the comment and I block them because this is not a dating site.
Come on.
And when I see them, I say, you know what? Stop it. But and they'll do it with every woman that commented. They won't just do it with one woman. Every female in the thread that commented, they'll reply. And and that happens weekly.
Wow.
Not the same person, of course, because I block them.
Right.
But those are things that make me cuss. Just people trying to take over what I've worked for. You're trying to, reach my audience by cheating when I've built it with it costs a lot of money to build it over the years, and you just want to cheat. And you think I'm going to let you cheat?
They're all out there.
They are. And then people who post their book. This irritates me. They'll go on the comments and they'll post their book in the comments on somebody else's book that we're highlighting. Like if I post your book, France, in the comments, they'll post a link to their book. Then they'll say, buy my book. Okay, do it on
yeah.
They get deleted, and it's quick too.
Good for you.
It's quick. If I get a notification on my phone, it's immediate.
Good
in
for
30
you.
seconds.
Yeah.
They're out of there.
They'll try it.
They'll try it. So how is the reception to your Strategist book? Like, how do people respond to it? And where do you go when you talk to people? Do you do it at churches? Do you do it in a corporate setting? Do you do it at women's organizations or sorority? Where do you talk?
Yeah, the reception's been great. Typically I vend often. Of course, since the pandemic that slowed down because everything was shut down, but women conferences, or I might go to festivals, African American festivals. I pretty much just look to see who the audience is going to be, at these different conferences and stuff. But typically it's women conferences.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. So, France, show your book one more time. I think Rhonda may have lost her connection or something, and
sure,
she'll be back. Girl Be You, and there she is. 7 strategies to activate
Your
your authenticity.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being a guest on the show, and congratulations on your books,
Thank
and
you.
continue
And we
success.
did put your links in the chat. So I hope everybody will click on the link and purchase this book.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, ladies. I had such a great time with you guys.
Okay. Okay, we did too. And
Same
your
here.
name is awesome.
Thank you. And so is yours.
Okay. Okay. All right. Have a great night.
All right, guys. Good night.
Okay. Okay, we said we were going to be giving away a book, and we are. The book for this week that we're giving away is called If We Are Brave, Essays from Black Americana, and it's by Theodore Johnson. And we have a trivia question about the book. And the trivia question is, the author has a math degree from, a degree in mathematics from which HBCU? And if you name the HBCU that he has a mathematics degree from, you get your copy. And this is a book. It's not an advanced reading copy. It's an actual book the publisher sent to us to present on the show. So we're going to be bringing on our next guest, and her name is Shelia Bell. I have been connected with Shelia for years and years and years on Facebook, and I finally reached out to her. A lot of times, the motivation to reach out is when some of my author friends who I've known for years, but haven't yet been on the show, when they have a new book coming out and they advertise their book. So that's what prompted me to reach out to Shelia. She has a new book out that came out last month called The Pulpit Ladies. But she's written a ton of books over the years. And we welcome Shelia to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you all this evening?
Doing great. Now you I
Wonderful.
didn't realize you were the founder of the Black Writers and Book Clubs at Literary Festival. I didn't realize that.
So I was, and that went on for 5 years in Memphis, the BWABC, the Literacy Festival. Yes.
I remember I heard about it for a long time, but I didn't know who was putting it on.
Okay.
So
That was me.
So what made you start doing that, and what made you stop doing it?
Well, what made me start, of course, I'm, like you said, I'm an author, writer, editor, all of that. But I noticed too, the literacy rate really started to affect me, because it began to dawn on me that, we can write all these books, we can put all this information inside books, but if people aren't literate, if they're unable to understand and comprehend, then there's a serious problem. And I began to do research. I had a team of wonderful people who really started out as people who supported me as an author. They were really book club people. And I went to them with this vision. It was just a God-given thing about how we could promote literacy within the community right there in Memphis, Tennessee. So that's where the idea of this festival came about, and it just started taking off. It went on for 5 years. It began to grow considerably. But then toward the end, like I said, 5 years it went on. It was getting ready to go into the 6th year. But just to be honest, the support just was not there. And it was really draining me. At the end of each conference or festival, I was in the red. Is that right? The red, because the black is if you're in the get, but I was in the red. So, I mean, I coming out of my pocket, and because I was trying to make it as affordable as possible, trying to draw in people, even our young people, just the whole thing. So that 5th year, I just decided that was it.
Well, you're preaching to the
Well,
choir.
that took a lot of.
Go ahead, Rhonda. You froze up, or are you?
Yes.
She froze up. Um, she might have to switch
Oh, okay. Oh,
device.
no, I was just saying
Okay.
that took a lot of bravery, um, and a lot of self-reflection to be able to stop, because you sometimes you have to know when to say when, and everybody doesn't know how to say, okay, this is enough. So some people would say, yeah, the support wasn't there, but I'm going to try harder to get the support. What made you say, okay, let me just go ahead and call it quits now, instead of basically just beating your head up against the wall? Because I know a lot of times that we as entrepreneurs do that. Well, we'll just keep beating our head up against the wall. We keep trying and trying, and then we drain our time, our finances, our self-esteem sometimes, because we're trying to make it work. What made you say, I'm not going to do that? I'm just going to go ahead and call it quits.
I just believe just that spiritual connection that I have with God. I was just and then again with my team, those 5 people who were on my team, I expressed my concerns to them. They were aware of the difficulties that we were having in it. And so they supported me as well. And then with my health, that was another thing. Many people, well, I guess people who really know me knew about my past, about me having polio at age 2. I've always been physically disabled. And so during that year before, I had even fallen and broken my hip and my knee.
Mm.
But I kept
Oh,
on. I went through that. I couldn't walk or anything. I was at the festival in the chair. And that's not to try to boast anything. I'm just saying I was going on with it. That was that year before. And so I was coming to the realization, wait a minute. Not only am I not getting the support, it was another thing. I had that fall, that horrible fall. And it had taken me away from what I do, which is writing books.
okay.
Just like you, Gwen, said, I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people didn't even, they began to separate, not even realize that I was an author because they knew me from the BWABC. But my real passion has always been writing. And that's when I started with urban books, the urban Christian line. I wrote all that line of books and did some editing and everything for them. But when I got into that literacy festival, I couldn't not, if I'm going to do something right, I just couldn't fully commit to my writing and that festival because you've had the festival year after year, Gwen, and
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
National Book Club, and it never ends. When you
No, it
finish one,
doesn't.
you have to
Yeah,
start.
when you finish one, in fact, we start a lot of times we start on the next one before, like we'll have plans for what year are we in? 2025.
Yes,
Like when the last one happened, we had some things for this year already set up before the 2024 festival was over. Because sometimes you have to do that in order to get people you want, one,
right.
you know, or the venue, the hotel, you have to do everything so far in advance. And uh when you said it was draining financially, you're preaching to the choir. A lot of people think it's a money making thing, and I tell people if money was my goal, I wouldn't do the event.
Mm-hmm.
If that
Yes,
was my main thing, that wouldn't be how I would make the money, because it's easy, a lot
exactly.
easier ways to make money, and it's also very physically demanding.
Yes.
Like this is our 18th year. We're almost at year 20.
Now I
It's
just
hard to
applaud
believe.
you. I do.
It's hard to believe, but um, every year it seems like this year, people sign up, so people are waiting to get in because we sell out, and like right now we're already at 38% sold for an event that's happening in October,
Yes.
and by the end of April we'll be sold out. We won't be able to take any more
Take
vendors.
any more. Yes.
So it's a need, definitely a need. There's a lot of independent authors. There are more and more and more and more independent authors.
Yes, that's true.
And they need somewhere to be, somewhere to meet the public, to
Mhm.
sell their books, to network with other authors and people in the industry. That's favorable, that's
Right.
comfortable. This is like a safe space for them. So we keep doing it. And Rhonda came on board as our literary correspondent 6 or 7 years ago. I lose track of when it was. By the way, welcome as a guest on our 200th show. This is our 200th show.
Well, congratulations. And I'm on 200 show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're on the 200th show. So, you need, when you do things, I know you, I noticed you said you had a team, and without the awesome team that we had for the festival, it couldn't happen. We have an amazing team. That's I would say it's the best team in the country. And they've been with us for years. Most of them have been with us for most of the event.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
we
that
don't.
takes a lot too for someone to dedicate that time,
It does.
especially see for me, I looked at it too. Those 5 people uh dedicated their time and committed to me, even though it wasn't their dream. See, that was my
Right,
dream, but
right,
they fed into it and
right.
they just stuck with me. And even now, I've had a couple of suggestions from not from them, but people on the outside book clubs and things about maybe trying to have it virtually, especially with the fact that now my getting around has really been compromised. So I don't travel like I used to be able to or get around like that. But I still, when I talk to those same people, we said no, it just wouldn't have the same impact because it's more than literary, it's literacy. And
Mm-hmm.
so we felt like we needed to be more hands-on then instead of virtual, like So that was the reason I went to them and they said, nah, maybe, maybe we'll think of something else. And
Yeah.
so but it's giving me the time to start back concentrating on my writing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we did the festival virtually during COVID for two
I know
years.
you did. You kept on. And see,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. You kept on, but I had already stopped then.
Right.
See, and so now to start back, when someone suggested it, then I said, well, what about you think we could do it virtually? Especially now, too, that I'm in Colorado. See, a lot of things changed. That was in Memphis. That's where I'm from. That's where everything took off. From Memphis, I went to Nashville, where my son was from. Now I'm in Colorado. And so it's just, everything has changed. But, I look at that and I think, too, everything is in its time. It.
That is true.
And
There's a
I'm
season.
glad,
Everything has a
yeah.
season.
Yeah, and I'm glad it was made a positive impact. We were able to, change some lives. We'll be able to meet a lot of authors and book clubs, people from all over. And so it was an exciting time.
Yeah. Now let's get to your writing. You've written over 40 books.
Yes, I written over 40 books. I started out again with under Urban Books, Carl Weber, who gave me a chance, and I wrote for him for years. And then I branched out on my own, I think, in 2012. And that was when independent authors were beginning to really sort of be recognized and coming out. It used to be sort of taboo to say that you were
Yeah.
self-published or
Right.
independent. That was, oh, you didn't want anyone to know that. And
Right.
so
It was taboo for in the
yeah, it
early
was
years.
taboo. Yeah, and so I branched out and really started trying to help other authors because I had such a difficult time in the beginning before I was able to sign with Urban Books trying to get my books published. And so I just started dedicating myself to trying to help other authors and bring awareness to what they could do on their own or with help. And so that's what I started doing and started writing on my own and formed my own company. And for a while, I did have other authors under me, but I was like, no, that's too taxing. I don't want that responsibility of having, somebody else's career in my hands. So I got away from that quickly. And now I just help people as an editor. That's what I do now. I help authors as an editor and help people bring their books to life.
Okay. Now,
Oh,
what year did you
that's
start?
I mean, a lot of people need that help too.
What did you say, Rhonda?
I said a lot of people need that help as well. I mean, some people think it's just about marketing, but you have to be able to write the book well in order to market it.
Exactly. And that's sort of where I fall in. People may send me the manuscripts back. Someone has told them about me and what I do. And I have to be honest. That's another thing. I'm going to be honest with them. And sometimes that can feel good, sometimes it doesn't feel so good. But, you know, not to dash anybody's dreams, but anybody that I can help along the way, that's what I want to do. But I want them to be, you know, to produce the best product, because sometimes we can get caught up in just trying to put something out just
That's
to say
true.
that our name is on it.
Just to say, now the thing is, now people are trying to do AI books that don't even they didn't even
And I'm
write them
wondering
or
how
anything.
that's going to work.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
sort of, I don't know.
I don't
That's
know.
a whole new ball game.
Yeah, it is. But they're trying, because we do a children's book awards. We do the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards. And so people submit their books. I think this is our third or fourth year. I think it's the fourth year. Yeah, I think so. But you know, we get a lot of submissions. And last year was the first year we actually got some AI books where it was obvious the whole book was AI.
That's
The
unbelievable.
illustrations and the inside, it was all AI. And so we had to make a rule for this year that, especially for Best Illustrator, AI books are disqualified. You can't submit an AI that, because you didn't illustrate that. AI, a computer did it. You know, software did it. So, but it's more and more common.
Yeah.
I think that's a lazy way to go about it. You know, you can get an idea of what you want something to look like through AI, but making it your final product.
I agree with that too. I just wouldn't want that to be my final product. And it takes away to me from, I guess, the talent or
Yes. Yes, the artists that actually have art talent.
Yeah.
It's so that's why we don't Best Illustrator. It has to be actually someone who did the illustrations.
Yeah, I don't see how somebody can call themselves best illustrator if they're using AI. I have nothing against using AI for certain things, but I don't think you should call yourself best illustrator
I agree.
if you've used AI.
Right.
No, I don't think so.
It
That's
wasn't you.
cheating.
It wasn't you, you know. And so I agree with you on that.
Yeah, or the writing. Now they have as a thing. I saw recently online where people were writing like their bio or their autobiography by feeding AI some things about them, and then the book would spit out, like it would spit out a book.
Oh yes, that's what I saw that around Christmas,
Yes.
and I think Christmas time, and you can put
Oh,
this
you're talking about writing a
information
whole
in.
book.
Yeah, if I want to write something about you or Rhonda, and you are friends or whatever, and I can put in there Rhonda likes this, Rhonda put in these little clues or whatever, and it brings a book up, and it was supposed to produce a book. I was like, this is the thing though. I'm wondering if that is going to be able to be the next thing. Is it going to take our place? I do have some concern about that as far as I'm securing what I write, of course. But still I have some concern. Is this the new thing? Is everybody gonna be writing these AI books and they AI bestsellers or whatever? What's going to happen with that? Because as time goes on, you seeing it more and more.
Yeah.
It's like now on my computer, I didn't load this. I didn't load up the software on my computer that now is under Bing or something. But anyway, it comes up and it gives me these really AI answers. I may put in National Book Club Festival, and the AI will go and look up the history or whatever and I didn't tell it to do that.
Yeah, it's doing that now. Some of it's helpful. Like Google's using it a lot now. When you Google certain things, some AI information comes up now. And a lot of times it's not the exact or correct information, so you have to continue to look.
Yeah, you do.
And it's also on Amazon and summarizing reviews of your book. Like there's an AI summary of what the reviews are on your book that'll say something like,
I didn't know that.
look on your books, the ones that have gotten a lot of, more than I think it's a certain number of reviews that makes it kick in, but it'll say readers said this about this book, and it's basically grabbing, portions, like summarizing what was in the reviews of your book.
I've seen that. I take that back. You're right. I have seen that. But see, my mind, I didn't even equate it really with AI. I just,
Oh yeah, yeah, it's AI doing that. So,
my goodness.
it's a brave new world. As
Yeah.
a reader, I don't want to read an AI book, and AI pulls things that people have already done. It doesn't
Okay.
create new stuff. That's still up to humans to do.
Yes.
New
Yes.
story ideas, new. And what I say, you probably need to protect your ideas more and not put them out there until they're finished and copyrighted.
Yes. I agree.
You know, because AI will grab it.
I
And
agree.
so you have your new
I
book.
don't think that
What were you gonna say, Rhonda?
AI, you do have to be careful, but if you can purposely ask it to plagiarize, and it will not plagiarize. It will tell you that it cannot do that. So I think it's pulling ideas, but it's not pulling other people's work.
Okay.
Okay, not
Good.
yet. Anyway.
Exactly.
I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. Okay, so I want to talk about your books. You got a new one, and then it's a series, and then you have the next book in the series coming out in the fall of this year. So the Pulpit Ladies came out in January last month. So tell us
Yes.
about that. Do you have a copy of that one with you?
I knew you were going to ask, and I just know, and I shipped my last copy out. So I'm
Well,
waiting
that's
on
a
more
good
authors.
thing. You're shipping copies out.
Oh, yes, yes. That was a blessing. I was okay. And I had one book left that I had to ship
All
out. And
right,
so
all right. Well,
anyway, now I'm waiting on
I did
another.
put your link in the chat, so
Thank
everybody
you.
click on the link so you can see Sheila's books.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I have some other copies of the other books before that, but not the Pulpit Ladies. But
Okay.
that's book 14 in the My Son's Wife series, which I started writing for Urban Books. That was one of the first books I wrote under Urban, and it was called My Son's Wife, which was supposed to have been, I thought, that's why I tell you, I just let things happen the way they do, because I always say, oh, I'm not going to write series. I'm just going to write standalone books. And I wrote My Son's Wife, and I thought, hey, that's going to be a standalone book until, again, getting into the actual professionalism of being under a publisher, traditional publisher. I had to get used to, the reviews and people, the feedback. And so when people start asking me, what's the next one going to be about, in the books, in the series, and I was like, next one. They want another book under, and that's how it started. And now I'm working on book 15 in that particular series.
Wow. So it's the same people? Are
It's
you
the same
retaining the
people. Now, some people
characters?
have died, yeah, but it's the same family.
So you
It's
kill
the
some of them
church.
off?
It's just,
Some of them have gone on to glory. Okay. So what's the Pulpit Ladies about?
Pulpit Ladies is again a continuation of the My Son's Wife series, and it is talking about, if you haven't really just followed this series, you still should be able to catch on when you read the book. But it's about these 4 ladies who attend the church that's always in question in the series is Holy Rock. So that's the name of the church that
Oh,
everyone
okay.
goes to, even though now, since a rivalry happened between the two brothers, then one is branched off, and father and son, then one is branched off, and now there's a church, New Holy Rock. So the Pulpit Ladies is a ministry that was started by the wife of one of those rival ministries, and it's called the Pulpit Ladies, and it's circling around 4 ladies in the church who will each have their individual problems. You have Eliana, who's husband, he's a pastor, but he's a cheater. You have Pepper, her husband was undercover gay, and so they had marriage problems. You have Luna, and her husband can't have kids, but just put it this way, she's just giving birth to a baby, not in so
Oh.
we talk and then we have Fancy McCoy, who's a former first lady. So the story is centering around them and the things that they've overcome, because throughout the series, each one of them have had different challenges. And so this particular book is just focusing on these particular four ladies.
Oh, okay. Something that you said reminded me of something my brother said. My brother's passed. He passed in 2007, but he was a born preacher.
Yes.
My dad, I'm a PK. My dad's a pastor, but my brother,
Okay.
he was a born preacher. When he was 5, he was preaching sermons. He could listen to a sermon on a record and then like regurgitate it, like all the inflections when he was 5. So it was just in him. But he said that when Black people, like if it's a church and there's a church fight and a split, they'll always either call the new church new something or greater or greater.
So that's
And so when
exactly
you said in the other church was New Holy Rock, that
right.
just reminded me of him saying that.
I mean, y'all authors and the way y'all be naming these churches and these books, y'all be killing me.
Oh, yeah, I had a
The
for
thing
my
it's not like they're exactly you know, when I say I write my slogan is I write perfect stories about imperfect people like you and me.
okay.
So when you pick up the
Love it.
Master's Wife series, if
Love
you
it.
think what you say, Rhonda? Okay. If you're thinking
I
that you're
said I
going
love it.
to, okay, if you think you're going to get some cleaned up, fixed up type of book, no, these people have a lot of drama going on in church. And so and that's the thing about it, because I want to portray realism. I like to write real life stories. And people are not perfect. I don't care if you're in the church, in the pulpit, or whatever. And so I bring those different things out in that series too. And so I think that's why it's my best-selling series. And even though I keep saying, okay, this book is
This
should
is it.
come in
This
20.
is it. This
Yeah,
is gonna be the last book.
yeah. But then, it isn't the last book. And so, and it's like I said, it's my best-selling series.
Yeah. Now in my novel, I called my church because I said I want to name it something that it won't be a name that'll be an actual name of a church that somebody can say that's my church. So I named it the House of the Living God, Cathedral of Love. That's a long
Okay.
name. It's not. So that way it's not, that's too long a name for the average church. So that's why I did that. It's like 2 church names in one. And I
Right.
named one church. It's not a book about church. There's just a character in the book that's in there briefly. And he's a pastor over this House of the Living God, Cathedral of Love. And he has political ambitions and it ends badly. I'll just say that. So
Okay.
it's kind of like a parody, really, because he's really like a parody, the character. So but writing about church people and being a PK, it's some interesting things that go on in church. And there's really a never ending well that you can draw from,
Yes.
because church people are real people. They're just at church, and you got some people
And
who
that's the thing. And you have some people who write what now my writing is clean writing, but I'm saying you have some people who really a little bit, they don't want their characters because it is a Christian fiction or a church book or whatever, certain things they won't write about or not allowed. But again, I write about imperfect people, the real people that you sit next to on the bench on Sunday. So
Yeah.
those kind of people, the real folks, the real pastors up in the pulpit. And so with that aim of sharing and teaching about how we all are imperfect, but we all have an opportunity to make our lives better.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have some good friends at church, and sometimes we talk among ourselves, and you know, share confidences. You know, sometimes you need to have someone you can talk to that you know is not going to go any further. You know, just to share with, and people that you see now that look like they have it all together. You just don't know what they've been through to get to where they are right now. And
So
some
true,
of it's
Gwen.
just painful and ugly and all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
But faith in God is what is like a common thing or overcoming um source.
Yes.
Because if you have faith in God, you can see your way through just about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just wait on God,
Right.
you know, because faith without works is
Works
dead.
is dead. Yes.
So you have to do something, you know. You can't just sit around and say, "Good God, fix it," because he'll fix it if you're gonna have to do something, you
Yes.
know. So, but Sheila, tell actually I'm a little bit past my time, but I do want you to mention the next book, Church Fellas. This is coming out this fall, and it's the next book. So it's the book 15
Yes.
in the
In church
series.
fellas. And so you can sort of gather if that was pulpit ladies. Now the
Okay.
church fellas are really their exes or the guys in church or the ones who the ex-husbands or the
Okay.
ex-relationship guys. So this is going to be focusing more on them. And I'm
Okay.
excited. I'm in the midst of writing it right now. And so I'm really looking forward to having it released.
So what was the very first book in the series? If somebody wants to start with the beginning, is the first book still available?
Yes, the first book is still available. My Son's Wife, The
Okay.
Beginning. That's it.
Okay.
My Son's
Okay.
Wife, The Beginning.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. If
And
people
so
want to start at number 1 and work their way up to number 15, they can do that.
they can do that. Yes, they can do that. So I'm really excited about that and looking forward to Church Fellas coming out.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. I'm glad to finally meet you face to face for the first time, even though it's virtual. And but we've been connected
But
on.
I feel like I know you anyway, though.
Me
I mean,
too. Me
yeah, so
too.
I feel like I know you. But
Yeah.
I do want to say too, that I appreciate you, and I want to take this time now to applaud you and to give you your flowers because you've been around, like you said, now almost 20 years, Gwen. You're doing remarkable work. You've supported authors like myself. I appreciate you. I'm thankful for you, and just even the opportunity to be part of this is a blessing for me, especially too, like I said, since I don't travel like I used to. And I just thank you for noticing me and thank you for all the support you've given to me and other authors all around the world.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank you for being a guest on the show and
Okay.
continued success. I had to pick up one of your books. I have to decide if I'm going to start at the beginning or just do the pulpit ladies. So
Okay.
we'll see.
All righty. And
All
thanks,
right.
Wanda.
Take care.
Okay, you too. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Okay, Ron, I'm glad you're back because you were breaking up real bad.
I know.
You
I
were
had to
freezing
restart my.
up. Your voice was
know.
like
I know. I had to restart my computer.
10 minutes behind what you said. Like 10 minutes is, I'm exaggerating, of course. Okay. Well, our final guest is going to talk about her book, and I think it's a memoir. Her book is, and her name is Malika Williams. She has a book called "I'm Just Trying to Live," and it's a book about her experiences and her challenges that she has overcome. And she also is a founder of a nonprofit organization. So, Malika, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And we welcome you to tell us about you and your work.
Thank you guys for having me. Hi,
Thank
my
you for
name is
being here.
Malika Williams. Um, I am the founder of a nonprofit called the Live Outreach. The Live Outreach was birthed off of just kind of a programming idea of some of the things that I needed for a younger version of myself at the time of things that I went through as a young girl growing up in the city of Detroit. So um, I'm just trying to live, which is the book I'm the author of, kind of give more insight and more intel of that journey of entering foster care at the age of 14. Um, I became a teen parent, finding out I'm pregnant at 15, having a baby at 16. And by the time I'm like 17 years old, right after graduating high school, I'm like incarcerated, like facing felony charges, like 2 counts of like attempted murder. So I'm looking at like some really, really like serious time. This is like a really, a real, really rough time for me. And at this time, I don't have a lot of support. And, like I don't really have a foundation as far as where I'm going to go, as far as guidance, on top of still also being like a teen parent, because, ultimately still, at the end of it, I still had another individual that I was responsible for, and their future was, something that should have been a priority as far as decision making. But at that time, I was so young and I had already had experienced so much trauma that, I didn't have the emotional intelligence to kind of digest this thing other than a way of anger, and resentment, all those negative characteristics that, of course, can cloud your judgment and, of course, make you not make adequate decisions like you need to. And then when you don't have no structure as somebody there guiding you in a way, because I feel like we all go through those points in life where we kind of need someone to kind of put us back, or at least even if we don't go that way, we have someone that told us, right? And I think that's really important. You're not somebody that's telling you something that is not like you wasn't told that. But if don't nobody tell you, it's like, how do you know? So this is how the Live Outreach is kind of birthed. The book, like I said, just kind of give real insight of just, as in that emotions of, always yearning to want to be loved and understood, because I was kind of always a person that went against what the norm was, right? So, of course, growing up in the 90s, in that era where a lot of parents were on drugs and things like that. So this is kind of like where you start really seeing the real movement of families dividing, where it's starting to be more single family home situations. So, just being conscious and aware of that these things are happening. But, I'm so young, I'm not understanding that. But now being a young mother, being a young adult and being, growing into that, I'm understanding how you're not perfect. You make, in that time it was a different era. It was a lot of different other things that at that time I wouldn't have understood, because like I was a kid. But it was a lot of division, and at this time I felt like one of the things with my parents, they always did have like, education was always really big no matter what went on in the home. But it was really strict rules. They really was big on certain things as far as, whatever their beliefs were. So it was really, pushed upon. So I grew up, my parents were Muslim. So, we didn't eat pork and we didn't celebrate Christmas. And it was just certain things that, we never really questioned why we didn't. We just knew that we didn't, right? So, getting into going through those things and just really wanting to be able to give that experience to someone else and let them know that it's pretty much like you can still go to college, you can still do all the things that a lot of times people really think that you incapable of doing, but it's a little harder for you because the lack of resources and things that you might, some of the hills and valleys might be a little different from somebody who might have 2 parents at home, and that might look different for someone else. So I think it's important to kind of always let that vulnerability show, and then just being able to be brave enough to kind of be authentically into your own self, to tell your own story, because I went through a lot of things as far as in the book I talked about like I've had an abortion and things like that, being dealing with things with not being able to pay my rent and things like that, things that I feel like people go through on a day-to-day basis that, you know, a lot of times they are embarrassed of, or it's, you know, and like I was listening to some of the topics you guys talked about earlier, which is kind of like, you know, just everybody having their own story, being an author to their own story, and just kind of like authentically standing in that. And so, you know, it's kind of like it's nothing that I could really be embarrassed of because it's a part of my life. That's no matter what it is, right? Even in, you know, even in my most challenging moments, sometimes I have to stand on what it is. So taking accountability and understanding that, teaching that to the kids is really important as well, as far as allowing them to understand that, you know, we all get angry because life is not just going to be childhood, it's going to be young adulthood, it's going to be adulthood, because life happens. And so, you know, being able to teach them about, you know, stress relievers and having different kind of coping mechanisms to be able to do that.
So what does your foundation do? Does it what do you have a place where young women act or teenage women, girls live, or is more like a mentoring?
So it's more like a mentoring. Right now, I'm going to tell you about a few projects. So last year, we celebrated 10 years. So for an example, we've been doing more programming. Events per se in the last few years, just because we don't have a physical location, of course, COVID and all those things. But we recently purchased a 14 passenger bus that we've been working with the University of Detroit Mercy, their Detroit collaborative design. So they're like the school of architect, right? They have a professor and an architect, and they come out and they basically work with the people that like would be me or the board and different people on the team to be able to talk to us about what's our vision with this 14 passenger bus. So we want to kind of change it to like a multi-purpose bus, like where we can pull up and we can have toiletries and fresh fruit and books and different things for the kids. And then, you know, we're also able to do some transporting, because in the city of Detroit, a lot of things is far and wide depending on where you live at, right? If you don't have the adequate transportation, like the regular grocery store is not like a regular, you know, just walk up the street. So, you know, just being able to have those different resources to be able to help those families that don't have that, you know, money for that childcare after school and different things like that. So we just trying to get strategic with it, where we keeping, you know, gaining as much impact with less overhead, you know, just because as a grassroots, it's real hard to manage a building and pay employees. Now that's the ideal, but realistically, we want to get where we can get in where I feel like it's reasonable. So right now we working on a fundraiser for that. But last year we celebrated 10 years, so we gave away 60 bikes, 80 kites, right at the bike kite burger bash, where we had like face painting, we had free books, a lot of free items that a lot of different organizations donated, as far as like baby clothes and different things like that. We barbecued and things like that. It was a good, we had some good community engagement where we were able to have like a table where we had parents and the kids basically say what they would want on this bus and what that would look like in a different fall, you know, different seasons. By we living in Detroit, you know, we have winter. So what would you do in the winter? What would you do in the fall? You know, what would you like to see on there? So
I'm gonna say in the winter, I'm staying inside. It's cold in
no,
Detroit.
but the kids had some really good ideas like sleighing. They
Yeah,
wanted
see,
to
they
get,
have to get
yeah,
out. We don't have we had 1 inch of snow in Houston 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
and the
she had one
city
inch. She had
shut
1 inch, and she
no
thought she was
one
snowed
inch,
in, girl.
1 inch. Well, we were. Well, I didn't leave home because guess what? We don't get snow here, and people
yeah,
can't drive. The whole city shut down. Schools were closed.
yes.
1 inch of snow. In fact, the schools closed here. If it's a prediction, it could be snow because people can't drive. Then the bus driver, you got buses and all of that. So it shuts down if there's a forecast of snow and
Okay,
more than
wow.
50%. But
Yeah,
we get
we get
real
snow all the
about
time.
once
Like,
every 10 years, and y'all get like the whole winter. You all
So
probably have snow on
Malika,
the ground for months.
so Malika, how does your your book play into the foundation? Because the foundation sounds amazing. It's helping a lot of people. How does your book play into it?
So it just provides a lot of it's basically it's very raw, honestly. It just explains like really giving intel like in my thought process in my mind, like as I'm going through these things and these different characters while I'm incarcerated, right? And being like at 17, I'm like at this time one of the youngest people in this particular area that they're housing me while I'm, going back and forth to court. And it's literally different situations where I'm like, sitting, we all eating dinner and the lady that's across from me is like coming on the 10 o'clock news. And I'm like, at this time, it's like, what do you do in that sense? Like, you know what I'm saying? And this lady did, I think honestly was in there for like murdering her baby or something like that. It
Oh
was
my
something
God.
bad. It was something bad because by my crime being like a violent crime, they categorize you by crime. So you would be in there with people that's like murder, felony firearm, arson, like really harsh crimes, robbery, like where somebody rather had a weapon or gun. It was like to an extent that it was kind of severe. It's not like a jaywalking. Nobody was in there for like jaywalking or, traffic tickets or anything. So this was like people that really had really bad crimes. And in the book, I talk a lot about how, a lot of times people think, people that go to jail, they bad people or whatever the case might be. It was a lot of people in there just because they was around the wrong people. They made, the bad decision. They didn't stay home when their mom might have said stay home. And, you know what I'm saying? They rode with them friends that they parents might have said wasn't really good. And, just as examples of how life choices can really just alter your life. And,
Right.
Yep.
I talked a lot about, because I did this thing called the Twisted Storytelling, where I went to Mary Grove College here, and I talked about, like, I told the whole story, but it's kind of like you tell a story like live. And the way that the people have it structured is kind of cool because you kind of go from one point to another. But the experience of it, I always mention is the judge, Vera Massey Jones, like this lady Vera Massey Jones, because that judge really definitely scared the hell out of me. I say that, excuse my French. She definitely said, hey, if I see you in here ever again, violate probation, anything, like I'm sending you to prison for 2/3 of like 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So you were kind of scared straight. Like they used
But
to
you
say.
got to remember, by this time I had already did like 8 months in jail, and I had seen a lot in there already.
Yeah.
Where it was kind of, then I give a lot of intel in a book about that, like real details about certain, circumstances and situations, like just unfortunately it's like a whole nother world. So this is how I understand the whole institutionalized part of it too, because it is kind of like a whole nother entity of world. That's just like here in Michigan, a lot of people work at, automotive plants, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never worked at an automotive plant, but they always say it's like a whole nother world there, because you got to think some people when they're working 8, 12, 16 hours a day, they in there seeing them people way more than they see in their families. So it's like it's other people got relationships going on. It's all kind of stuff going on that you wouldn't even typically know what's going on, but they there so much. It's like a whole nother world. And I was like, I never experienced it, but I understand that in a jail sense, how somebody go there and it's kind of like some of the lingo and language is just a whole different world. So I provide a lot of insight on that, just that whole experience as a young kid from my eyes. And then like originally just kind of growing up, my first experience of, I don't really go into a lot of intel about my family, but I did witness like my first murder when I was 8. Like I had a lot of experience with like violence and different situations which kind of had, so when life was lifing for me, that anger just built, it just built onto the trauma, because it was never no coping skills or no kind of coping mechanisms given or tools or tactics to be able to relieve or be able to say this is the proper way, you know. So I've always kind of seen things handled with violence. Like, you know, this is not gonna go this way, but this the way it's gonna go because I'm saying it's going that way. So just learning that, you know, other ways in expressing yourself besides anger, or is other ways in always being frustrated. And of course, that's still a learning thing that I'm still learning right now. And so I think it's important for me to even educate, you know, the youth in that capacity, because I feel like we have, you know, we go through so much because life be so hard for us, just even just
Right,
as Black
right.
people alone. Like, it's just hard. You know, you might just be already having a bad day, and then somebody give you a hard time, you know, just because of what you look like and where you might be at that time, you know, and it just add on to how the day be. Where if you was on the other hand, a different race, or, you know, it wouldn't be that kind of, you know, you wouldn't maybe even experience that. And we all know that that has happened on many occasions. So, you know, just living it sometimes is
Malika, when I listen to your story and I'm listening to everything that you're sharing, you could have easily gone a different route with your life. Was it really that judge who scared you, or what was it? What was that point in your life where you said, this is not what I want for myself, or I want better? Was it having a child? Was it being in front of that judge? Was it going to prison? Was it a little bit of everything? What was it that that made you say, I'm going to go a different way with my life?
I think that is always, it was always in me to be that way. It was just these were the
Mhm.
obstacles that I was going to have to face to get to where I had to go. I think sometimes, you know, like with myself, I can only speak for myself that I was born with it. It was already in me. So it wasn't nothing that, you know, the only thing is just really doing it. And I've been showing my, you know, God has allowed me to see that continuously, to be able to be, you know, when you believe in him and believe more in yourself, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of like a recycling factor, you know, as you know, continuously understand that it's not just you and you not control of everything, but you can utilize what has, this is could be something that can inspire anybody. You don't know where that can take, that story could take, or help somebody else. And
Right.
sometimes you just have to be the sacrifice with that. I am very thankful that I was able to come out of that. I think ultimately, overall, you know, a little bit of pieces of things like that do still motivate you, right? So, of course,
Mhm.
having a kid and knowing that you don't want him to still go through all this whole, you know, try to do better, you know, as best as you can was a factor. You know, of course, the judge saying something, heck, you know, I don't want to go. This is not my life. I don't want to be somebody that go to prison. No, I don't want, you know, so of course, and I feel like those are the constant reminders sometimes we need, as those instant, you know, those pushes through life. Sometimes we don't think of it like that, but now that's as a reflection. Sometimes that's how I look at it. Like those different things that look bad, like being a teen mom, nothing is, you know, coincidental. None of those things, but those things have allowed me to be okay. It motivated me. It was a constant reminder of what I needed to do to stay afloat and try to stay focused as much as I could. And at the end of it, it's still still a journey. It's still hard, and I always want people to understand that, like, it's never a place where it's a breeze. I think people think you work so hard and then it's just like, oh, life is great, and then you put your, it's never that. Every day, you know, certain things are triggering in your life. You know, this is why you have to recognize those things that's triggering and things that trigger those things, you know, because it's, you know, it's like things that you would never get. It's kind of like a wound, right? You know, you got a scar and you might have cut yourself, and you will always know that that was there, because it's kind of like it might be a little faint line there, but you still know that that is there. So I feel like that's just kind of how life traumas sometimes are. And you can take it really good, or and try to use it really in a great way, or you can take it and we can dwell and wither. And, you know, sometimes that's, you know, that doesn't do well, you know.
Do you have a copy of your book handy?
Yes.
So you can show, because we haven't shown the cover yet. And the title is,
I'm just trying to live.
okay.
I
Okay.
like the title.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What
Now,
is the art though? Is that I
So
can't really tell.
What's the image? What is the image of?
It's a lady with her arm up.
Okay, I thought that's what that was. I couldn't really tell.
Okay.
So it was a lady that I had worked with, and I had the original canvas that she had created because she was getting into like creating different things, and I live the live outreach logo is a butterfly. So most of the time, like this is
Okay.
you
Oh,
know, it's
okay.
a
Okay.
butterfly.
I see it. Okay.
So anything with butterflies, she had butterflies like all through her afro on the picture on the canvas.
Oh, okay.
And so I asked the lady, because we had worked together for a lot of years, and I said, I really like your work, and I see what you're trying to do. Is it okay if, are you selling a picture or whatever? And she said, you know what, I know you love butterflies. I'll let you have it.
Okay.
And so I reached out to her later on because it took me a long time, even though this book is not that thick. It took me a long time to complete this book because it was a lot of trauma I had to kind of go through and memorize, and then I had to stop, and then you start crying, then you start thinking about something else, then your mind wander, you ain't. So it took me a while, and even though I want to do some upgrades to it, I just wanted to have something tangible because it was something that was like a goal of mine that I had definitely wanted to have. And if I was to, anything was to happen to me tomorrow, it would be something that my kids and my, I don't have any grandchildren, but, God might bless me with some that they will have something of me, of a story that they will be able to know that was my truth. So I'm just definitely proud of that.
Okay. Now, how old is is it a son or a daughter that you have?
My oldest is 25.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Okay.
You
Wow.
look 25
God bless
yourself.
you. I know.
You had that baby when you were 1.
Wow.
Get the
Okay.
time do fly, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that tell my age. Yes, that like this story is like a 25-year-old story. Yep, 25.
Yeah. Well, but uh, there's nothing new under the sun, really, in terms
No.
of it can always help somebody because every generation has challenges. The main thing that changes from one generation to the next is technology, but human nature is the same.
Yes.
So, um, people hopefully learn from their experiences. And sometimes going to jail can be a wake up call for a lot of people, and then some people turn it around after that. If, hopefully they're not in too long, or even if they are, some people are able to turn it around from that. But some people aren't. It just depends.
And it's everything
It,
is mental. And that's
yeah, I
one
think
thing.
you have to believe in yourself.
Yes.
And
And it's a lot of prayer
yes, I
and,
was going
and,
to say
and
believe in God.
self-reflection. I think
Yes.
accountability is a big thing in society we just don't talk about, but like a lot of times, pointing the fingers, a lot of times when you accept things for what they are and how they can, what they are, it's like, you have to live in a reality that's reality, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just like I would want to, right now I want $1 million house, right? But I settle for a $300,000 house. You get what I'm saying? Like I settle for, it's like you got to be grateful for good grace, and I think sometimes we always want more and more, and I'm working on that too. I'm guilty of that too, of just being, thankful and grateful in that moment and appreciative of things, and just grateful to be able to be on a platform where Black authors are highlighted and their stories are mentioned, because there's so many great stories out here, and I'm so proud to be able to hear the different perspectives, and then it opens your mindset of just how people live different all over the world. And I think that's another thing with working with the youth. I want them to be able to have an open mindset. You gotta, if you live all over the world, people live different. Everybody don't live like how you live, no matter where
Right.
you at. So
Right.
I
That's
think
true.
that it's even with the culture differences, it's just an educational thing. You know what I'm saying? We all want to be loved. We all want to be respected. We all have boundaries of things. And so that's just, I think that's just a human thing. But
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Well, we're at the
appreciate
end
that.
of our time, Malika. The show. We're at the end of the show. So show your cover one more time, real quickly, and so people can get your book. And on it says Malika a Dreamer,
Yes,
right?
which is my middle
When you
name,
look it
Malika.
up,
Yep.
when you look it up on Amazon,
Yeah,
you can do
and
by the
I did
title.
put your link in the chat.
Okay.
There were actually a couple of people who were asking for your link. I had already put it in the chat, but since they asked for it, I said, let me put it in the chat again. So that means
Okay.
that your story has really resonated with our viewers, and you've really touched some people. And I pray that you continue to touch people with your story, because this is how lives get changed.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. I
And continue
appreciate you
success
guys.
with your nonprofit.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. You ladies have a great night.
You
You
too.
too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, before we go real quick, did somebody win the book?
Yes,
Curtis?
it was,
Hmm.
I think it was Lydia.
Lydia won. Okay, well, Lydia, the book will be on its way to you. And that'll be it for this week. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us on our 200th show. We appreciate all of our viewers, and we love what we do. So we are going to sign off for tonight. I'm Gwen Richardson.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.